it's important not to romanticize this illness. Again, as I say, most people who have bipolar illness are not particularly creative, and I think it puts an undue expectation on people to sort of have this notion that there's this gift floating around everybody who's got some sort of mental illness, because it's not true and it's not fair. But it's certainly true that there are a lot of studies, and a lot of them, with really large numbers of people now in the last 10 years, of several studies of over 200, 300,000 people looking at this issue. People increasingly doing brain scans, doing genetic studies. So it's not just the old-fashioned Greek notion that, of Plato and Socrates, that people who were mad were much more likely to be poets and philosophers and musicians. But that's been a consistent cultural notion that's gone through the centuries. And it turns out in the last century here, we've shown that that's true. And then a lot of reasons, I think particularly what you see is in the arts, you see a very strong connection. And some of that's because the arts let people be odder than in medicine and science. There are a lot of highly creative people in medicine and science who have bipolar illness. But they have to get into medical school before they get really sick. Okay, so there's medicine and science are not so forgiving. You can't be ill in the same sort of way that you can be in the arts. But I think some of it is, when people get manic, their thinking changes profoundly, and people think much more rapidly, and they have an expansiveness. So, for example, just listening to the wonderful rapping, that kind of leapfrogging along with mental state of kind of going from here to here to here to here to here, but having some control over it, so it isn't just random, psychotic ramblings, but it comes together with a combination of discipline and free thought. But that's one of the most common things, and it's the reason why writers disproportionately in the arts, because of a certain loosening, and particularly poets, that kind of rhythmic pattern. So if you look across all fields, whether you're talking about science or business or the arts, the group that has disproportionately bipolar are the poets.
Fascinating. Wow.
But if I could just say one thing, but there's also a temperament that's attached. Some of it's the cognitive changes, some of it's just the way the brain's kind of on fire. But some of it's temperament that goes along with both people who have bipolar illness and people when they're manic, which is recklessness, bad judgment. These are things that you don't want to say necessarily good things about, but the fact of the matter is, you want a certain amount of recklessness. You want people to take chances that they would not otherwise take, to take risks that they would not take.